Let's talk about why you're not gaining muscle on the carnivore diet. Hello guys, welcome back to the channel. I want to talk today about gaining muscle on the carnivore diet. Why people are not able to do it. The main limitation I see of a lot of people is they're just not eating enough food. So a lot of us come from a background of like restricted eating. And admittedly, I must admit, a lot of people come to this way of eating because they've got bad health. So on a lot of occasions, they've sort of tried fasting, all this sort of stuff. Keto, restrictive eating, intermittent fasting, the lot. I can see why these are useful practices. But I think oftentimes it means that people just default to what they think is the next best thing. Now, gaining muscle, in any case, on any diet, is actually really tricky. Getting to a heavily muscled physique, like myself, John Baker, a few other people out there, it's hard work. It takes a long time. I've been training for about 15 years at this point. I've tried every training methodology there is, you name it, FST7, high intensity, couldn't even think of any Dorian-Yates, push-pull legs, the lot. And there's limitations to everything. I think one of the problems with the resistance training kind of the camp out there that just think, oh, that's the only way to do it, doing this or that training methodology is that. You want to sort of build a program based on principles. So for myself, I know safe training is of the utmost importance. So for me, that means I'm not going to be able to do spinal loading things. For example, I'm not going to be able to do a bent over row for probably quite a long period of time, if at all ever. Saying that, there's other movements I can use. Perhaps rather than doing a bent over row to target maybe the upper back and lower back, I'm looking at 2 isolation movements. Maybe it's some sort of compound row, a chest supported row, take the pressure on my lower back. Maybe it's a hyperextension. I isolate that lower back, minimum strain, minimum loading. Now the other thing I want to talk about as well is probably the most important part, which is the diet. Now you can get quite far without really being that meticulous about the diet. But as you become more advanced and you're asking me, as a carnivore coach in this space, questions about gaining muscle, gaining weight, the problem is you have to just get enough food in. So it means you're not eating 100 grams of fat per day trying to stay at 6% body fat. I get people like this all the time asking me, oh, I'm not struggling to gain muscle. A lot of the time it's because they're trying some fasting strategy, trying to do this and that and this and that, trying to achieve lots of different health outcomes at the same time and physique outcomes. Now, for those of you that don't know, my motto, my slogan, is lining physique goals with positive health outcomes. And I've been able to successfully do that with every single client so far that has followed my plans. The problem I have is oftentimes people, not just in our space, but in a lot of spaces online, they're sort of approaching it from multiple different angles. And it confuses the situation. Now, as a coach, I give the objectives. I give the idea, the methodology needed to achieve the goal. Like I said, the problem is the other influencers out there, not really an influencer, the other people out there are trying to sort of tell you lots of different things, to build muscle and lose fat at the same time. You need a calorie deficit with lots of protein and this, that, and the other. I'm like, really? How are you going to equate that? How does that measure up? How are you going to count your calorie burn each day, Now, people will say, I track my nutrition intake, my calorie intake, and over a week it averages this. Well, yes, you've affected your mass intake of food, the macronutrients, proteins, fats, and carbs if you happen to eat them. The problem is, not every day is the same. Now, I don't know actually any bodybuilders that are that meticulous. Myself, probably a bit more meticulous than most, but not always. Now, what I do is I do give myself a range. So that means I try and hit a baseline protein intake based on what I know will maintain my muscle mass at a time. And so I'm trying to lose a bit of fat. I'll, reduce the fat intake. The most obvious, simple thing. I'm not looking at the dairy intake, the insulin released from the small amount of lactose I'm taking in, because that's a smaller lever. Fat intake will directly impact fat, mass, adipose tissue on your body. Now, the dairy part of it, the insulin, it does make an impact. Now, what I actually say to some people is if they're really struggling to get in food, their appetite's struggling, and every single health marker on their blood panel is perfect, including liver, that's a very important one, and they're still struggling to eat, I say, have a bit of raw dairy. Even have some cheese or something. That's going to positively impact your muscle gain journey. And I'd say that's obviously due to increasing the appetite. We know, just around us, people that eat a lot of carbs have to eat a lot. They have to eat often because they have that blood glucose roller coaster. Now, what I'm saying of this is, you're not doing this for optimal health outcomes. Myself, as a carnivore bodybuilder, the original carnivore bodybuilder online, I'm doing this to achieve something that no one else has achieved before. No one else has achieved a massive muscular physique on a carnivore diet and been on stage and done that well. I'm going to be the first. So my goal for 2024, probably around summertime, not sure what date or month yet, is to achieve exactly that. I want to bring the biggest, most muscular and most shredded physique possible to the stage in bodybuilding. The way I'm going to achieve that is through doing exactly what I did last time. Keep my protein at a good level, reduce the fat. Then when I start to get to that point where I think, my fat's a bit low, okay, then I know, okay, we'll manipulate other things. Then you start to manipulate the variables such as the exercise that you're doing. Maybe you're resting for shorter periods between your sets. Maybe you're just training a little bit longer in the gym, you're doing an extra set here and there. Now, this isn't an optimal health approach. I want to be quite clear and transparent there. The best way to go about all these things is the minimum effective dose, minimum effective volume. And that makes sense. The least wear and tear in your body, the least stress that you put in your body. What I would suggest to people is to book a consultation with myself if they're struggling beyond this point of watching this video. Spin the wheels, listening to what everyone else is saying online. You need this, you need that, this supplement, this product, this powder. Chances are you don't, guys. Look at me. 92 kilograms of fat-free mass on my body, a height of just under 6'1", and between 12 and 15% body fat. I'm achieving it. I'm doing exactly what 99% of people cannot do. And I've actually probably made it even harder for myself by following the carnivore diet. And I know I'll probably get a lot of mixed feedback about this sort of video. Is it a restrictive diet? Can you build muscle on it? Is it that you need extra carbs to build muscle? No, absolutely not. But like I said earlier, I'm trying to achieve what other people have not achieved yet. And that's to build a massive muscular physique. Now, I do have my health parameters to be concerned about. So what I mean by that is I'm looking at my blood tests from point A to point B. I'm looking at the relevant blood markers that I find to be the most appropriate to measure and see how that impacts my ability to progress onto the bodybuilding stage. Now, for those of you that don't know, if you're struggling to sort of build muscle, you do need to start looking at things a bit closer and stop worrying about these minute little details. Now, it probably sounds a bit contradictory, look closer at what you're doing, but don't worry about this, that, and the other, What I'm trying to say here is look closer at what you are doing, so your macronutrient intake, the food that you're actually eating, then assess from there. So you're not looking at your MyFitnessPal app and saying, I'm eating 200 grams of fat per day. Then you send me a picture, you're like, oh, look how much I'm eating. Then I see, 20 grams of tallow liquefied at the bottom, all rendered. You're not eating that much grams of fat, So make sure you're eating all the food on your plate. That's ultimately going to impact your macronutrient intake at the end of the day. Now, the reason why I think, you need all this fat is because when you're trying to build muscle, you need your hormonal profile to be optimized. And if you're, say, depleting yourself in the gym, you're doing high-intensity training like myself, you're using different approaches to build muscle and lose fat, what have you, you're going to be running at some sort of deficit a lot of the time. What I mean by that is when you're actually training, you're exercising a lot of fat for energy, and that's not going to be the most beneficial in terms of your recovery capacity. So again, you're looking at your metrics, like I've said in lots of other videos. So your training performance, your progression in the gym, your sleep quality at night. I guarantee everyone out there does not optimize everything. I don't do that. I try to, honestly, I really do. I really, really do. But there's more to be gained from moving the big pillars. So when someone says to you, train hard, eat right, train smart, recover even harder, that's exactly it. They're not lying to you. That's what you need to be able to do. And like I said earlier, if you're still struggling beyond that point, consult with someone that knows what they're talking about. There's other people that have done bodybuilding on a carnivore diet. We're looking at people like Richard Smith, Keto Pro on YouTube. We're looking at Colt Milton from Skullbelters TV on YouTube. Look at Mark Ennis. There's people that have competed on a carnivore diet in bodybuilding. They've built some good muscle mass and lost a lot of fat in that period of time. So look at the people that have done it. People actually have done it. People that have been on a carnivore diet, animal foods only, and achieved great success. So that's all I have really time for today, guys. Hopefully you found that informative. I'll talk to you guys soon. Cheers.
Build muscle and lose fat on the carnivore diet.